reason that I can still get one to every firefighter is because we've been accumulating some of the older radios that like Delphi Police Department has upgraded, but their radios still work. So they've transferred those to us at no cost, and we will still be able to use those. So we're just trying to get by with what we have currently, and this is a cheaper option than Motorola.
Dan?
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if your fire territory capital, which is for your capital improvements, and that's what these radios are, has a balance of $38,877. Why aren't we just paying for it out of that instead of for it out of three other funds or two other funds?
No, that's a great question. I understand that question. We were using the $16,730 of the capital fund on the generator project.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, see, there it is on the screen. If you're
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't get a picture of you.
Yeah, 16,730 was going to the capital improvement fund for the generator. Okay.
Okay.
So that all makes sense?
Oh, it does. It's just trying to keep it simple.
Yeah, right.
A 428 fund and two funds out of a 427 can do it. So.
Mm-hmm.
And this second page I didn't get to, so I assume we've got to do this transfer in order to put enough money in what?
Nope. For the radio project, there's no transfer required.
So that's just as it stands.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So you need a motion to do that?
Since it's over 5,000, I think, yes, we need a motion. Do our motion, lady.
Yeah, all right, I make a motion that we approve the purchase for the multiband portable radios, the microphones, and the hardware and cable at a total cost of $28,662. Now there again, Dan, can you get these in before the end of the year?
Yes, he's assured me that I could get those before the end of the year.
Okay.
Marcia, are you seconding?
Yes, I can second.
Is there any discussion on this item?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did that earlier.
Hearing no need for discussion, call for the question. Leanne?
Aye.
Marcia?
Aye.
And I am an aye. The motion carries to purchase the radios as stated in the motion. What else you got for us, Dan?
Okay, so the next two items are honestly just end of the year. There's some funding left, there's some monies left, and we really could use to replace one of the items and could use the other as something we don't currently have. The transfers listed on the form are $300 from public ed and $1,000 from fuel and oil to miscellaneous supplies. So those are all within the same 100 group categories. The first, and we've talked about this probably since the beginning of the year, is to have a plan to replace our 4-gas meter, which is the meter that we use when we go and do carbon monoxide calls or structured fires or confined spaces. It's how we tell if the atmosphere is safe enough for the firefighters to remove their air packs and be able to breathe the regular air. The meter here listed includes the testing gas, which you have to do every month or the meter doesn't work, and the regulator that allows that testing gas to be fed to it. It is an item that can be delivered before the end of the year. We currently have 2 meters on the department. Our goal is to replace one of them this year and another next year. The second meter purchase would be about $1,100 because we wouldn't have to purchase another testing pack to go with it. We could use the same testing gas for both of them. The other items for purchase this year out of the miscellaneous fund would be 2 first watch ice rescue suits. Currently, the only department in the county that has ice rescue suits is Burlington, and then the nearest other department would be Monticello. It's a dry suit that you put over your clothes. It has a harness on it already. You don't have to harness yourself in with a secondary device to be attached to the rope. And what it's designed for is someone goes through the ice or is in cold water, the firefighter can go into the cold water, be tethered to the shore, and get them out. I feel like the questions would be, when's the last time we've needed that? I have no idea. However, we have some areas within our area that has the potential for that. You know, one up by Ryland Mobile Home Park, there's several ponds. One has a subdivision going into it off the Heartland. They could also work on the river sections. And in most cases, it's not actually the person going out on the ice because they were being adventurous. It's because their dog's fallen through, and now they're going to get the dog, and now everybody's in trouble. So
Or someone's
reason I'm
going through and somebody's going out to try to help them, and then they're
Right.
too water, and yeah.
So the suits are $6.95 a piece. The reason I'm asking for 2 is because my thought on it is, if we're going to put a firefighter in a suit to go help somebody and only have 1 suit, who's available to go help the firefighter if he needs extra help? So I feel like 2 suits would be the minimum that we would need to be able to perform a safe rescue. You still get cold, but it keeps you from getting wet, and it gives you a little more time to react to that. It will keep you a lot warmer than you would if you just went in with your clothes on, and then when you're done with the rescue, you're soaking wet and you're still hypothermic. This, you just take that off and you're dry. Yeah. We would carry it in the rescue truck. We'd probably carry one on the rescue truck and one on the engine, knowing that both apparatus would go to a scene like that. Yeah.
So, my question is, you have children?
Yeah, we still have, that's a great question. We still have,
Hear the question.
yes, I apologize. She mentioned that the total I'm asking for is $1,300, but I'm looking to spend nearly $3,000. And the reason for that is because we still have $2,800 or so in the miscellaneous fund. So we would just be using that money to boost the miscellaneous fund in order to complete both purchases. But there's still 28 something in the miscellaneous fund. We just had the fuel. The question was that we know we don't have a bill for fuel or oil, and we just actually, I noticed the tank is full, so they did come within the last week. I expect there to be a bill for fuel and oil. However, our balance for fuel and oil is currently, sorry.
1686.85.
Okay, 1686. So our diesel bill it won't be over that $600 that would be remaining in the fund if we took the $1,000 out of that fund.
So is the board required to approve these?
I don't believe so. I just want to be open with, I just want you guys to know what the end of the year purchasing plan is.
Looks like it's good.
You have to approve the transfer.
If they're within the same 100,
Oh, all right.
okay. So with that being said, that would leave some money in the miscellaneous fund. Obviously, we still have a couple more weeks left in the year. There's a couple of flashlights that I know we need to replace, but it wouldn't require any other action on the end side of the board to do those. And then I just, going back to old business, was going to confirm that we were moving forward on that 200 number fund for the billing,
Correct.
and that the research that we did on the resolution was, that it would be active starting in 2021.
So that's what my application.
Okay. Yeah. So the
Well, actually, Dan, it becomes active this year. We're gonna establish the fund this year. We're moving the money over to it this year. It won't leave there. It will stay in there.
You're establishing, this
Mhm.
year.
right. So I guess
You don't wanna lose those funds that have been accumulated this year.
that's correct.
Yes. So it actually becomes effective this year when the fund is established.
Okay, yeah, I probably just worded that or asked that incorrectly. I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing I had to do on my behalf for that to move forward.
Yeah, that fund then will automatically carry over to next year with your money.
Okay.
And so did the board do a resolution to establish that fund?
We found that it had been approved actually, and Gail found some meeting minutes that showed that it had been approved at a 2013 meeting.
Great.
And I have the printout of those, but I had met with Leanne and we discussed that and agreed that it looks like it's valid.
Very good.
I'm a little concerned. We found minutes, but we've never found the resolution, right? A resolution to establish this fund has never been, correct?
So yes, I guess I would agree with you on that. I think we were looking for resolution 13-1, which when we looked in the book at the city building, it was not obviously this resolution, but
Yeah, correct.
the actual minutes from the November 4th, 2013 council meeting identify that Dick Traeger made the motion to approve resolution 13-7, seconded by John Bennett with a motion that carried 5-0. 7, yes.
Resolution, yes.
This one. I didn't forget this, but no.
So if she's able to locate the actual resolution, obviously we're we're good. There's nothing further required. Because it's in the minutes, I think we would be fine in knowing that that 200 ton is okay, but January, we may want to do a confirmatory resolution if we're not able to find the original.
Dan has it.
She did that, she did.
Mm. Yeah. This is from this date, council meeting days, and then it's under different heading. That was my understanding, and then they talked about it with whatever attorney was listed there, and then they presented it at the common council meeting for approval there.
Get the resolution published, not in your.
She's looking now, we originally were looking for 13 months.
2013-7 is a council resolution. Just a minute, let me read it to you. Just a second.
So how many resolutions would we have in a year? Like, we wouldn't have 7 resolutions in a year, 13 after fire territory, would we?
No, usually not.
Or, like, we haven't had any this year, right?
No. That's why it's not making sense. That's what I told you the other day, Dan.
Yeah, right.
The resolution 2013-7 that was signed by the Common Council is for the city Delphi Common Council in support of the Central Delphi Community Revitalization Plan. Revitalization.
Revitalization, yeah.
Yes, thank you. There is I've been through this book, and I've been through this book. I think what Dick Traeger was approving, I don't know whether the right number was used at the meeting or not, and this is simply my opinion. I think he was approving a resolution that your board had approved. Because as the provider unit, we have to give our permission. We have to give or the council has to give their okay. But that resolution, I don't know how we're coming up with 2013-7 or one like you even originally thought. I've been through all of them. There is nothing in the book, ordinance-wise or resolution-wise, in 2013. But I think the fire territory did a resolution. And if the fire territory approved it, and then the council approved your resolution the same way they're gonna approve your transfer. It first has to be done by you as a governing body, and then comes to the council as the provider unit to okay.
The question is, Marcia asked, would it still be numbered in the same format or the same fashion?
They would still call it.
And they would still call it by the same name?
Yeah, except it would be signed, it would be signed first by yours. I don't know that the city has to do another resolution. I think we just have to approve it.
And so
Right,
it was already approved, but can now not be located in the fire territories archives, then where are we?
Dan, you have an actual copy of that because you gave me a copy of it.
Yes, I have a copy that's not it's not signed. Is that what?
Do
Um,
you?
yes. So this, the minutes from that meeting said Mrs. Diener, city attorney, read and approved the resolution. Is it possible that she would, or her office would have a copy of that?
No, she never kept it, and she wouldn't have or should have.
Okay, so I have a signed copy of an ordinance from the city council in 1988, and then I also have an unsigned copy that has the same, most of the same verbiage that's labeled as 13.1, which is where we started, why we looked for that originally. But it is all formatting's all correct. It's just not dated by the. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just not signed by the actual territory board. And Joanne, I'm sorry.
Minutes then support it, correct?
There's a fire council.
Oh, does the fire territory minutes support that? Is what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the council minutes support it too.
Okay, we have to find it in fire chief.
Yeah. So as far as the territory minutes go, it would have to have been prior to November 4th, 2013, because that's the date of the city council meeting.
Okay, so I have here, I had done some research on this a while ago. Back on October 23rd of 13, I have minutes saying billing resolution 2013-7. Abby saw no problem with the resolution. Daryl will have the original at the next city council meeting so that it can be signed. Randy suggested the wording be inserted into the ordinance. The territory board can set the rates and make changes to the rates as needed. This will help avoid rewriting the ordinance. Doris asked Daryl how the fire department can justify charging for fire runs when taxpayers are
Ordinance.
taxes for the fire department. Yeah. So Randy would like to see how other local fire departments are doing the billing process, and we'll be checking and reporting back.
The problem is, the very last ordinance I have in 2013 is number 5.
What's the date on that?
The date on that is the 7th of October.
That's fine. And that was about something else, right?
Yes, that's their salary ordinance. But I don't have a 2013-7 ordinance.
Do you have a 6?
Nope.
Hmm.
And 4 is another wage ordinance. Hold on. I've been through this. But
I can help you out here if you'll let me.
do what?
I can help you out here if you'll let me.
I don't have a problem with it.
Gail, you're recognized.
Thank you. What happens when things like this come before the city council is it's called a pass-through approval. And the city council is not really taking a vote on any resolution that they've created. They're actually showing that they've seen and acknowledged the resolution created by the fire territory, and they are just giving their approval in a pass-through that they have seen it and agree that it doesn't violate any legal terms or anything. So there really is no documentation from the council. It is simply a pass-through approval by the council for the fire territory board.
I think that's what I said earlier. I think that's what I tried to say earlier, and I maybe didn't express it very well. But it's the same
It's
thing.
called a pass-through approval.
Well, it's going to be the same thing when you take these transfers and encumbrances. The fire territory board itself is responsible. They pass it, and the council gives their approval.
Right.
The council
So the
looks at
fact that
it
it is-
for a pass-through approval and accepts the encumbrances into the minutes of a meeting. We're not really giving any legality to it. We have to look at it and decide, first of all, make sure the money is there, that the correct funds are denoted, that the purchase order has been created with the vendor, and like you mentioned earlier, the purchase agreement has been documented so that the encumbrance is legal and the funds are there to support it. So yes, they're basically, what we have a meeting on the end of the month, it will be to accept the documentation into the minutes of the meeting, and as the State Board of Accounts says, basically for accountability and transparency.
So because we do have documentation that shows that the pass-through did occur on this resolution, we should be good and shouldn't have to address this further, correct?
The only thing that didn't get done back in 2013 was the 200 fund was not established. So if there have been any charges for billing runs from 2013 to date, that money should have been put into a fund and accounted for in that way, because it would have been a non-reverting fund. And once it goes in there, it carries forward for usage. So that might be my only suggestion, and I think I suggested that to Dan, to go back and try to get that documentation to see what the fund balance should be to date.
Right,
With that for you, because there was very little billing ever done.
Right.
That only started, what, Dan? Maybe 2 years ago with Jim Bishop?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so there's actually, it was permitted as far back as 1988. It was just probably something that was not
Never done.
used. And then I did speak with Leanne, and she's provided me a balance on the funds that we have received via billing. So we definitely can identify the money that can be separated from wherever it's at now to be put into the 200 fund.
I can go backwards. And go into the history detail and find whatever had been deposited. It then went over into your general fund. I think at that point in time, you probably could do a resolution where you took that out of your 428 fund and put it over into the 200. That's legal stuff and policy. I'm not into that. It's numbers. So that's something you could check into, but I can find those records for you if you want.
I think it was, no, I understand. If I recall, I think it was around $7,000. So somewhere
No,
around
I
there.
think that would be real high.
Do you think we need to have it on?
The question, and I agree, is that we should have a sound resolution that should be put into the records. And I can,
Is that something we could do on the
and the question is if that's something we could do on the 30th. I also feel like it would be at least worth asking Diener or the other place if they, just by chance, were to have a copy of that signed thing that she's mentioned in that minutes. So I think we should at least ask.
I'm not sure the way you said this, the way the minutes stated, and I haven't seen them, I haven't read them, but I'm not sure that she wrote it or she just gave her approval.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's something we can write out.
Okay. But yeah, I agree with Marcia that it would be good to have a signed copy of what we're doing on file to solidify those records for the transfer.
And that would need to be done by the Fire Territory Board.
Right.
Which will not meet again until January unless it is also meeting to approve. We've already approved the encumbrance.
And I guess what I would say is that, I mean, I feel like the group that's present here today feels like we have all of the background, we have the minutes from both organizations that support the ordinance. We're kind of just, we've misplaced something. We're trying to, place a file in the record to, solidify those two meetings.
I think we all agree that the 200 fund if it has not been established, should be, by virtue of the record. And if we wish to do a confirmatory resolution in January to that effect, just so that we've got the documentation, great. Otherwise, we move on.
So you think we could wait till January to write that?
No, well, you can wait till January to write it. I'm gonna go ahead and set the fund up for the end of the year and transfer the money. If
Right.
someone can show me by code or by law that I can't do that, then proceed to do so. But
No,
otherwise, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think that's what you need to do, and I would just saying if we can wait till January to sign that resolution, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it would just, we would state that it's a confirming, the action that has already been approved back in 2013. So we're establishing the fund. This board concurs that it should be established. And if we feel that we need the, you know, the actual documentation to that effect, it would just be confirming, a confirmatory resolution that would, that we wouldn't be able to do now until January.
Yeah, I think
I
that's-
think what you want to word it is, you want to direct, your motion needs to direct the clerk treasurer to, research, or first of all, establish the 200 fund, and then you want her to research from the date of the original resolution forward to determine the balance that needs to be deposited into that fund. And then Leanne has the ability to do like a correction of errors for paperwork for the State Board of Accounts. If something comes up and, you know, didn't get done years ago, it can still be corrected, and
Just to identify it.
so the money can be. But your resolution is gonna be to direct her to create the 200 fund and research to find the balance that should be deposited into that fund.
You already voted on that.
Is it minutes? I think we had that covered at the last meeting, actually. In the minutes that Melissa had,
I'm sure of it.
it just talks about it, it doesn't, but it says that we have identified that we need a 200 member fund. So, no, because we felt like we had,
You've been talking.
it might have been.
Has the 200 fund been established yet?
No,
Okay. I would encourage the board, and I'm just speaking out here, I would encourage you to make the motion tonight to direct the clerk treasurer to establish the 200 fund.
Okay, I'll
And
make
this'll be-
that.
Marcia,
Okay.
will you?
This'll be-
Marcia made a motion. I don't know if they.
I'll make a motion to establish the billing fund out of the right.
The 200 fund.
Yeah. Get it all taken care of and continue to research if we need to do anything further in January.
So if I understand it, Marcia, you're making a motion to establish, for the clerk treasurer to establish a 200 fund, and then to research the amount of billing that has accrued, and set that amount into the 200 fund before the end of the year. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. I will second that.
I
Is
have
there any further discussion?
We have a question here.
um, um, well, I lost my train of thought. Um,
So are you okay with that motion, Marcia?
yeah, I'm okay with the motion about getting it done. It was, I can't remember what I was gonna ask about. The end of a long day. A lot of things.
I think we're all feeling a little brain dead right now, but, if there's no further discussion on the motion, we have a motion and a second. So all of those in favor, Leanne,
Aye.
Marcia,
Fine.
and I am an aye. So motion carries, 3-0. Dan, do you have anything else?
Yes, thank you. That's about all I got. So, so we remembered the question.
Did Melissa look back to see if we had made a motion to do that already?
The question was if Melissa knew or has looked back to see if a motion had already been made on that 200,
To get it established.
to get it established.
You mean at the last meeting?
Or,
Yeah,
or
it's been
previous.
we've been talking about it for several months, just wondered if we had already done that.
I think we've been looking for a resolution that had already been passed, but I don't recall a motion being made to establish it. So tonight, we've made the motion to actually establish the fund and to research to see whether, to research the amount of insurance billing and to transfer that into a 200 fund.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
We will.
I don't see a motion in the past few months.
I don't think so. I think I told you after talking to Dan Hedden at Baker Tillich, a 200 number would take care of your regular miscellaneous expenses, the 400 number, first available number. And when we say a 200 number, it may be 227, it may be 210, I don't know. We're gonna
Right.
take the first available 200 number that would apply to this.
Right.
But the 200 was miscellaneous, the 400 would be capital. We're not going to amass enough money to utilize it if we use capital only. So the best choice was 200, but we never jumped off the edge and approved it.
So tonight we have,
Thank you. So the last, I have probably 3 questions. The last thing on my budget, or whatever the budget agenda was for tonight, I just mentioned at the bottom current fund overages. We've already discussed the telephone overage, which, obviously looking forward to next year, we feel like will be resolved by going to the VoIP phone system and sharing the internet. The other overage that I showed on my list was under equipment and liability insurance, negative $372. Again, I feel like that's probably because the building insurance also came out of that line item, which left us with the money to be able to cover the internet upgrades. So I feel like that'll all balance out in the end at some point there. I'm not showing any other overages, just so the board is aware. I didn't know if I get the appropriation reports sent to me monthly from the mayor, and I appreciate that. I noticed on the last one that I think it only captured accounts that had changed, or maybe that something was paid out of, and it didn't seem to have all of the line items. And I didn't know if it'd be possible to get, like whatever the most recently updated one was that does contain all the line items, just so I can make sure I'm ready at the end of the year.
I just ran one off tonight, Dan, that gives me a total picture and it gives me a balance in every line item, whether there had been anything done in it or not.
Okay.
So it starts with your wages, which is 1111,
Yep.
and it ends with your last 4/28/1940. So.
Okay. Yep. I could just get a copy from you tomorrow or something. That'd be great.
Okay.
And then the last question I had, and Pat Clausen brought this up. We didn't know under the debt services line item I want to take, so there's $2,000 left in that, and if we don't need to use that money for anything else, I would like to just pay that towards the principal of the loan, because it's still in that line item. And the question also that he brought up was, does the debt services line item dictate or allow us to get tax money or income? If we didn't have a debt service, I guess the way I would word the question, do we get fewer funds from the community?
Whoa.
Yeah, if from the community, are you meaning your tax revenue itself?
I think that's
Yeah,
probably the way that's probably the word I would use, I think. I guess if we did not, like if as our debt service continues to decline, as we continue to pay off the loan over time, do we get fewer funds because we're not showing, I could be wrong, like DLGF, we're not showing to them that we need the tax money to
No.
cover expenses.
Has nothing to do with it. That's all based on your tax load. That wouldn't have anything to do with it, Dan.
Okay.
I don't see how it would.
So, Leanne, Debbie has asked a question by chat, which just disappeared.
Well, I think
Is there a debt service tax rate for the territory? Well, is there
Oh, I'd
a
have to
tax
look.
rate? And then the tax rate doesn't change based on debt, does it?
Ah. I would have to look into it, Anita. I don't know. I use their figures and their levy, and I go from there. But
It's a question we can ask Baker Tilly, our financial consultant, and I think the question in general is what the impact that the debt service has on tax revenues and budgeting.
I think we've created an appropriation line item, and we're calling it debt service. And out of that debt service that we're calling it, we're putting money in every year to make the payment on our mortgage. That debt is filed with DLGF and state bulletin. I don't see how that has anything to do with our tax revenue.
Okay. And like I said, I wasn't looking for an answer. I was just tonight. I wasn't looking for an answer tonight. I just didn't know.
You're raising a question, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good question, but I've never thought of it any other way than it's a debt. It's an approved debt. It's filed. It's on record. I don't see how it would, but Jesus, I don't walk on water, so I don't know.
Leanne?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when I get together with the field representative, that's one of the questions when you do the, can't think of the name of it, when you fill out that one paper so she can figure out what your rates are gonna be and stuff, and there's a question there about debt.
Yeah. But
Whether it has any bearing on anything, like what he's asking, I can't remember, I'd have to look at the paper, I guess.
So one of the things on the chat that I think is from Debbie, I can't scroll up to find out. I'm sure it is. She said that the school corporation has a separate tax rate for debt services. Obviously, ours, she says, might not be the same as the school corporation, but I think that's where the question would come in: is do we have a specific tax rate based on debt service, or is everything just come out of our budget?
I don't honestly think so, Dan. But I'm beyond bookwork. I'm not a guru on that, so we'll have to look into it.
Okay.
That's something field records probably do.
Okay.
Yeah,